future dangers loom. Italy is already a fascist state. In the Far East, Japan's territorial ambitions smolder. Adolf Hitler's Nazis are already a national party. In many German towns, its stormtroopers are taking control of the streets. With each election, the Hitler vote rises menacingly. In these times, Joseph Stalin is not the only ambitious man who reflectively fingers the globe. For the Soviet people, this year, 1928, is the watershed. Stalin's war against his own people is not declared by Stalin in a single speech on a single day.
Comrade Lenin dreamt of 100,000 tractors in our fields.
In an overwhelmingly agricultural Russia, at the end of the 1920s, over 98% of the land is in the hands of individuals, mostly less than 10-acre smallholdings. Less than 2% is collectivized in the hands of the state. Now, a truly astounding decision is taken. Stalin takes it upon himself to eject from their smallholdings every land-owning peasant in this nation of peasants. Coldly, he accepts that he will cause famine on a huge scale, suffering beyond anything that has happened in Russia's history of suffering. In the countryside, there is no question of simple reform. Stalin's aims are to control the crop, particularly the symbolic grain crop, and to forcibly dispossess the land-owning small peasantry, the kulaks, to form the labor force on the new collective farms. Collectivization is a storm which breaks slowly. When it comes, it will involve the starvation of millions, the imprisonment of millions more. Hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of shootings in dark courtyards, and farcical mock trials filmed for a gullible West, eager to believe the great experiment in social justice is being properly defended. Perhaps it's coincidence that 1928 sees the return of the Russian writer Maxim Gorky to the homeland. Sharing Stalin's own contempt for the peasants, he has painted them in print as subhumans who hoard while the towns starve. His welcome is ecstatic. But Gorky's ideas will prove the keynote to the propaganda program against those the party dubbed the kulaks, the so-called rich peasantry. So over rural Russia, the storm gathers and breaks. As 1929 ends, the whirlwind batters vast areas of the Ukraine and the northern Caucasus. In this first onslaught, arrests are made in perhaps 1 million kulak households. Heads of families are sent to prepared labor camps. Dependents are deported to Siberia. While propaganda films create cruel illusions of peasants celebrating the new reforms. In Kazakhstan, nearly 20% of the population die of starvation. Throughout the Soviet Union, whole villages are left without inhabitants. 1 million die in the North Caucasus. In the Ukraine, grain confiscation creates a famine which kills nearly 5 million. This is a man-made disaster. And in the camps, over 3 million newly arrived peasants in near-starvation conditions are being worked to death. Reduced, as the up-and-coming young Georgian Lavrenti Beria puts it, to camp dust. I have seen faces, the poet Anna Akhmatova writes. I have seen faces turn to bone. In March of 1930, Stalin publishes his article on collectivization. He chooses to call it Dizzy with Success. Yet even while collectivization is gathering pace, the restless, dark mind of Stalin is seeking out other enemies. The leader's anti-Semitism runs deep. He establishes a Jewish autonomous area in distant Birobidzhan near the Chinese border. He knows from party experience the thread of non-conformism, even revolution, that exists in the Jewish tradition. To his mind, the location of most Soviet Jews in the Western Soviet Union is not ideal. But few Jews settle in the East. Unsurprisingly, they prefer the towns of Ukraine and Belorussia where they are born. As collectivization spreads through the countryside, Soviet Jews for the most part survive the whirlwind, only to reap the Holocaust to come. Now Stalin's mind turns in a new direction. The year 1928 has already seen the introduction of the first five-year plan. New construction begins in whole new sectors of the economy. Machine tool plants, automobile and tractor factories, and vast communications projects, railways, canals, roads. But now the public trials of the mine workers at Shachty in the Donetsk region are a warning to industry. A warning that workers in industry too are to be forced to bend to Stalin's will. At Shachty, 55 men are accused of conspiring with foreign powers to wreck the mines of the Donetsk basin. 11 are sentenced to death, the rest to the slower death of long-term imprisonment. Stalin proclaims, "We have internal enemies, we have external enemies. This, comrades, must not be forgotten for a single moment." The point is hammered home during these collectivization years. If industrial production is not reaching the heights set on paper, intransigence and sabotage of the workers can be the only reason. Slogans call for the annihilation of the enemy. Those who want to restore capitalism will be shot. Sabotage, treachery, plots to murder the leader begin to be glibly cobbled together. Sergei Shegelkov was 17 when he was arrested for plotting to kill Stalin.
Standing before the interrogator, the first question was, "Do you know who Stalin is?" "Well," I said, "of course I do. He's our leader." Then they asked me why I had wanted to kill him. I was astounded that they asked this. Then it began.